Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big questions. And, today we're tackling a massive one for every single engineering leader out there. How do you choose your team's AI coding partner? We're going to put the two heavyweights, Claude and Gemini, head to head.
All right, let's get right into it with our two contenders. So in one corner, you've got Claude 4.5, who we're calling the sniper. I mean, think pure precision, deep thinking, hitting that bullseye perfectly on the very first shot. Then in the other corner, you have Gemini 3, the factory. This one's all about industrial scale, raw speed, and just massive, massive throughput. You see, these are two totally different philosophies for how to get the job done.
And look, this isn't just another boring incremental update. No way. The latest releases from Anthropic and Google, well, they're not just an evolution. It's more like a fundamental fork in the road. And what that means is that every CTO out there is now forced to make a real strategic choice. What do you value more? Is it raw quality or is it raw scale?
All right, let's kick things off. Round one, the code off. We're going to see exactly how these two perform on the kind of real-world tasks your team is wrestling with every single day. Okay, first up, a pretty simple bug fix in a Flask endpoint. And right out of the gate, Gemini shows a clear speed advantage. It delivered a working patch a good 20% faster than Claude. So for those quick, straightforward fixes, yeah, the factory is already humming along at full speed. But what happens when the job gets a little more complex, right? So here, developers were asked to refactor a pretty messy data pipeline. And this is where Claude, our sniper, really shines. It produced this clean, readable pipeline that passed every single test on the first try. Gemini, well, it got close, but it needed a second pass to catch a tricky edge case. And this slide, man, this shows the core difference perfectly. When it came to generating robust tests, Claude just went deeper than Gemini. It thought about these obscure edge cases, things like leap seconds and time zone offsets, and in doing that, it actually found a new bug just lurking in the existing code. That's not just, checking a box and completing a task. That is adding some serious, profound value. So what's the takeaway from round one? Well, it reveals this crystal clear trade-off. For your simple, high-velocity stuff, Gemini is an absolute speed demon. But for that complex logic, that mission-critical code, where getting it right the first time saves you hours of review, Claude is just in a class of its own, no question. Okay, on to round two. And this one is all about a massive bottleneck for developers, context. I mean, how much of your code base can the AI actually see and understand at the same time? It's a huge deal. And really, this is the question every single engineering leader needs to be asking themselves right now. Are you trying to optimize your AI assistant for a surgical strike on a single file? Or are you aiming for a big strategic overhaul of your entire repository? Because depending on your answer, well, it changes everything. And here it is. This is the brutal truth of what we're calling the context trap. Look, Claude's reasoning is absolutely phenomenal. On the documents it can actually see. It's like having a brilliant analyst who only has a small bookshelf. But Gemini's massive 1 million token context window, that means it's the only one that can even read your entire large repository in one go. If your job involves understanding the connections across a 500,000-line codebase, Claude literally can't even get started. It's a non-starter. So again, this just highlights the trade-off, right? In a hands-on test with a huge code dump, Claude's recall on the details it could see was way more precise. It found the exact note it needed. So the key question for you is, what matters more to your team? Is it perfect recall on one piece of the puzzle, or is it a good enough understanding of the entire board? All right, now for the round that hits every CTO right where it hurts, the budget. This is the price war. And let's just be blunt here. It really looks like Google is trying to starve the competition on cost. I mean, you just can't ignore the raw API numbers, and the sentiment from developers, the folks on the front lines, is loud and clear. When you're talking straight pay-per-use API calls, the top-tier Claude models are seen as being like an order of magnitude more expensive than what you'd pay for Gemini. And this quote, it just frames the decision perfectly for so many people. Claude's superior quality feels like a premium service, right? It's almost a luxury good. It's the model you want to use for everything, but it's also the one you might not be able to justify for every single task day in and day out.
But what if that API price tag isn't the whole story? So one power user on Reddit actually did the math. Based on their pretty heavy coding workflow, their monthly bill for using Claude through the API would have been, get this, a staggering $12,000. But then here's the counter-narrative that completely flips the cost equation on its head. For developers who are basically living inside the AI, a flat-rate subscription plan can make Claude vastly cheaper. Suddenly, that potential $12,000 API bill turns into a predictable and, let's be honest, pretty cheap $100 or $200 operational cost. So here we are, after 3 rounds, a code off, a context gauntlet, and a price war. What's the final verdict? Well, the answer isn't about picking one single winner. It's about building a smart, strategic playbook for your entire team. So here's the key takeaway. Think about it. You wouldn't hire one person to do every single job on your engineering team, would you? Of course not. You hire specialists. You need that tireless grunt worker for all the high-volume tasks, and you absolutely need that seasoned senior architect for your hardest, most nuanced problems. And that brings us to the actual actionable strategy here. It's a simple 2-model approach that lets you get the best of both worlds. So step 1, you deploy your factory. You're going to use Gemini 3 for all those tasks that demand scale, massive context, and raw speed over perfect first-pass nuance. We're talking code-base-wide analysis, summarizing docs, generating those initial drafts. You know, it's the 90% of the work that just needs to get done and get done fast. Then, for step 2, when you hit that wall, you bring in your specialist. You save Claude 4.5, the sniper, for that critical 10% of problems. I'm talking your most complex bugs, your most important refactors, and designing tests for your most sensitive code. The places where getting it right the first time saves you just priceless engineering cycles. So as you're building out your AI strategy, the question really isn't which one to choose. The real question, the one you should be asking, is how are you going to leverage the unique strengths of both, the tireless factory and the master craftsman? Because that's how you're going to build faster, smarter, and more reliably than ever before. The answer isn't one or the other. It's both.